Hello and welcome to Running Your Stories. We have a great episode here for you today with Mark Baines. Sat with me here is my little daughter Eleanor, who wanted to get involved with recording a podcast today and being on YouTube. So Eleanor, what do you think of your daddy's running?
It's really good and I'm very proud of him.
Oh, thank you very much. Do you like running?
Sometimes.
What do you like doing?
I like doing some gymnastics and
what were you doing this morning? Where did Mummy take you?
dancing.
Dancing. That sounds good. And you do swimming as well?
Yeah.
Very good. It's important to be sporty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep fit. Right, well, we're going to get into the episode with Mark Baines, who is a fairly recent ultra runner. We met on a race last year, and it's a really interesting episode, having a chat with Mark. So, here we go. So, welcome Mark Baines to Running Your Stories.
Thank you. Delighted to be asked.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to having a chat with you. I think we met, it was almost exactly a year ago on the Oldham Way Ultra.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which was a fabulous day.
It was, yeah.
And we actually talked about the podcast that day, I think.
We did. I think you were just starting, were you?
I was just doing some of the first recordings, and actually Fiona, who we met that day and ran with, was one of the earliest episodes.
Yeah.
And I saw Fiona last night, actually. She was at the talk that I went to.
Yeah. I follow just about everybody we were running with that day, because they're all very active, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Good people.
Yeah. So, so where does your story start?
Well, I've always been a bit of a jogger, but I used to think I was a runner, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? I'd go out, I'd notice I was getting fat and think, right, I better go out and do about 3 or 4 runs. And then sort of lose interest and stop again. And I've been in the army, and so I'm reasonably fit, para and all that sort of thing. And they tend to make you. So I always enjoyed the physicality of it.
Yep.
But just slipped out, and I got into motorbikes, and then really I suppose where it properly started was I came off the bike and knocked my head and got a fairly serious brain injury. This is 2015, May 2015, and I've been jogging a bit before then, up to a half marathon standard. But I think the physio, first thing he said when I saw the first physio, I always saw one physio because you don't get much in the NHS, was I said, well, when can I run again? And he said, well, I don't know if your balance is going to be good enough for that, Mark. It's one of those things that you might just have to, that's in your past. And I thought, He's not going to be in my past. So went on from there, really. Walking about a week later. Yeah. Running about 3 weeks later. Yeah. And little by little, so from parkrun really kicked it off. That was the first time I'd run competitively, even if it was only myself in a parkrun, getting PBs and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And then thought, well, I'll do 3 in the week, and then I'll get a bit better. And then little by little, the distances got further. I enjoyed the distances more, particularly marathon. First marathon in 16, was it? I think it was 2016. And then 11 in 2017.
11 marathons.
Yeah, I was going to try them for 12, but I got the flu back end. Yeah.
So what sort of marathons were they? Road marathons, trail marathons?
Mostly road, mix. I like the long distance walking association things. I like the navigation aspect of them.
Yep.
And the cheapness and then just the total lack of, I don't know. Sometimes ultras and the running. The big running events can be a bit, look at me, I've got all the gear, I'm just so cool. And then you go to a long distance walking association, they're all in the 70s, wearing baggy trousers, and they're covering the same distance in much the same sort of time, and you just think, well. So I love them. Road marathons, well, I did my last one in September, and I'm not sure, I might not do any more. That was my PB at 3:18. But I hurt myself doing that.
Yeah.
So then I'm having to really thrash myself to keep that pace up, and I was getting lots of injuries of my feet. So I thought, I'd started to do ultras. I did three last year, and thought, I did a 50k back in Patrington, which is the flattest part of Lincolnshire, or East Yorkshire, isn't it? And that's but that wasn't really like an ultra. You know, I find 50k's aren't really. You run them like a marathon, really. They're just a bit further. So you just wind your pace in just a little bit. But they feel very like a marathon.
Yeah.
But so I suppose my first real one was the Oldham Way, and that was a cracker. I did that with an injury from a marathon I'd done the week before. And I was in agony going up the last hills.
Until it got to that very, I think we'd done the last major hill, and we ended up. Were you one of the guys where there was 3 or 4 of us abreast along the road, all looking at each other like, just lost your microphone, just checking, is somebody going to break the pact and run off here?
I think I dropped behind. We'd gone up past that pub, hadn't we? Yeah, because it was going up the hills was the hardest bit for me, because of my feet. It was just so painful. And I think we'd gone up from that pub. It was the Diggle Hotel, isn't it? Yeah. And that's where I lost you. I think there were 4 of you, weren't there? And you just started to pull away, and I could never quite catch. I can remember Fiona looking back, which was rather nice of her. And I just said, no, just go on. I think, I'm not going to be able to keep up with you now, not with this. But we got to the top of that, right to the top of the hill, and then it was relatively flat and downhill all the way back in, wasn't it? Yeah. And I just and the ground was a lot softer because it was downhill and it was soft ground. My foot didn't hurt quite so much, so I was able to pick up my pace back to 750s, I think, or 7640s, and managed to catch her up, fortunately, just before the end. But it was a cracker.
It was. I was talking to Fiona about it last night, and neither of us have entered again this year so far. Yeah. And she was saying, "Oh, Kev, if you enter, I'll enter."
Yeah. Well, do. It'd be great, that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing it again this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's good to know. We were also talking to a young guy who's aiming to do it in about 6 hours and break the course record.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's an ultra. Anything can go wrong. It's not over till it's over.
It was just about 8 hours last time, wasn't it? So if I can get in 7 something, then I'll be delighted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So got that, and then a long list of things this year, really.
Yeah. So, what was your next one last year after the Oldham Way?
Oh dear. I did Race to the Stones.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. That was a mad hot day. That was just. I think it was about 36 to 38 degrees. It was the hottest weather I think I've ever run in. It was just appalling. But it was lovely.
Was that like June or July? That kind of time.
Yeah. Mid-July, I think. Yeah. Right through that it was a very hot course, wasn't it? A very hot day, very hot period the whole summer. But
because I've heard that's a very good race.
It is. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And I think for a first proper distance type ultra, it's a good one. I mean, my nephew, my niece's husband, he's doing it this year. Mm-hmm. He's not run ultra before, and he wants to do the full 100k in straight off, which I think is a good idea. I think it's got a sort of terribly corporate feel about it. That's the one thing I don't really like. Mm-hmm. The fact there's some nice things. The photographs are all free. Yeah. And you send them your email and on your Facebook account, and they automatically go across, which is lovely. And the quality of the food and stuff at the stands is just phenomenal. I did it mostly on tailwind because I tend to struggle to eat if I'm really hot and working hard. But you didn't. They'll send you a list of what's out at the various checkpoints, which are about every 10 kilometres apart. But it's just everything you could possibly imagine is there. But you get to the 50k point, and it was like a big tent city with a massive disco thing going on. And really, I was just glad to get out of it because it was just too much noise.
Yes.
Too distracting.
Yeah, it seems a little bit in this style of what I've heard about some of the American ultras. Seem to be that kind of. Like I say, kind of quite commercial and kind of party atmosphere.
I don't object to it. It's just
each to your own. You've got to have different things at different races.
You're still doing 100k's at the end of the day on pretty demanding ground, and it's very well organised.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to ask about. What is the ground like on that?
I suppose it depends on the weather, like everything really. But in very dry conditions, you can run it. You can run it in road shoes. I did run the last half in road shoes, which I changed at 50k. First 20 kilometres or so was pretty much undercover, which was lovely given the heat. You're running through forest and woodland and there's high hedgerows. But then you're completely in the open. Fantastic views to either side off the ridgeway. But they do make a big thing of all these fantastic Iron Age and pre-Roman sites, but you don't really see much of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to be stopping to have a look at the sites.
You about 10 mile in, you go through a Grimm's ditch, which is very obvious. It's a big, presumably ancient defensive ditch, and that's lovely because it's soft earth and leaf mould at the bottom, and it's just beautiful to run on, and it's shady. So you see that, but then you don't really see anything else until you kind of get to the end. Apart from the beautiful views everywhere, it is gorgeous. When you run through a couple of castles, old Iron Age hill forts, which are in remarkable preservation. All the walls, the double and triple ditching is all very obvious, and that's very impressive. And then you get into Avebury itself at the end, and if you arrive in daylight, which that was kind of what I thought, I'm going to do this in 12 hours, and because I started at 7, I think I finished at 7, plenty of sunlight, enjoy having a look around Avebury afterwards. Anyway, it didn't happen. So eventually it got to, I'm going to finish this in daylight, and I just about managed. If it got dark, it'd been, I'm just going to finish it, like it always is. But in 13 hours, so it was a good time. Yeah, I never got to run with anybody apart from for about the last 20 mile because it was so spread out, and you'd just been passing people or they'd be passing you, and it never quite worked. But I did end up running the last 20 miles or so with this one guy. I mean, you make good friends on these things, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a funny thing that I've had the same sort of experience where early on in the race, it does seem like you're either passing people or they're passing you. You all seem to be different paces, and 12 hours later, you suddenly find you're in the same place as somebody else who's running at the same pace as you.
Yeah.
And I think part of it then is that neither one of you has the energy to just pull ahead, and it's you feed off each other slightly. And that if he's doing that, it's a bit easier to just stick with him or her, and just stick together. And I think it helps you along a little bit when you get to that kind of stage. Whereas earlier in the race, you're just kind of more focused on your pace. And later on, you're thinking anything that can help me to maintain a pace.
That was the thing with it. It was called Steve, and then what we worked out eventually, because we kept seeing each other. You know, the whole route we were seeing each other, crossing each other. I mean, we eventually worked it out that I was faster at running than he was, but he was faster at walking up hills, and it just balanced out, and we just accepted that. And throughout the last 20 miles, we knew we were actually running together, but occasionally I'd be half a mile ahead, and occasionally he'd be half a mile ahead, and then we'd just meet up again. And so even though a lot of the time we weren't actually together, we knew we were.
Yes. And
then he ate the wrong thing at the last checkpoint. I think he malt bread, and just had a gastric sort of disaster.
Oh dear.
And so I'm waiting for him to recover, and then I just thought, we've been together for too long, and he's struggling. I'm going to stay with him. It was just a bit of a cop out for me. I didn't have to work very hard, so we basically stayed together for the last. I think it was only about 10k's to go. So, but it took. It was a hard 10k's though. He struggled.
Yeah. That's always a difficult decision as well, isn't it? When you have been sticking with somebody and you then got to decide whether you stick with them further or not. The last couple of races I've done, I've tried to keep it a very kind of looser relationship, kind of sticking with people for that reason. That like you say, once you've stuck with somebody for so long, you're kind of not going to break it.
No, it just seems unfair, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I did Hardwolds. That was my last big run last year, in November. That's an 80 miler from from just underneath the Humber Bridge to Filey.
Yeah, is that the 100miles 80?
Yeah. They call it the Hardwolds.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a lovely route actually. It's rolling countryside more than there's a long. Well, the first 10 miles has a very serious steep set of steep hills, and then it's basically rolling until the last 15, when there's another very, very steep set of hills. None of them are too dreadful, like going up a Pennine, because they're actually quite short, only a couple 100 feet, 300 feet at max. So it's enough to sort of drive yourself up, and then you're not too exhausted on the top. But I ran that with a friend from my running club, who's a pretty good ultra runner herself. She's done a lot of 50s, but she struggled with her. She has celiac disease, and she ate the wrong thing about a month before. It just took a long time for her to recover,
right.
And she was really worried. And it was because it was a new distance for me. And I thought, well, I'm not really bothered about my time on this. I'm just going to, do the 80. Preparatory really for seeing how I get on doing 100. And she's really well to about 40 mile, and then really struggled for probably the next 25 really, until she dropped out. But I learned a lot from that, because I tend to push myself very hard a lot of the time, and it's not a good idea on an ultra, is it? And
tends not to be.
I got to 65 mile with this lass, and she was just about to pull out, and I was thinking to myself, I don't feel like I've been for a run. Yes. Because I've been so slow, and I've been standing and waiting, opening gates, and just taking it so easy. And it's like 3 a.m. We'd done 65 mile, and I just felt so fresh, absolutely fresh as a daisy. And I think I learned a big lesson from that, because it was always 80 miles, and then she pulled out, and I basically ran the next 15 and got in totally exhausted, fit for nothing. But it did show 100 mile in 24 hours, even on, there's like 9,000 feet of climb on that, and it's all off road. Isn't beyond out of the question, is it?
No, I'd agree with you there, and the Hardwolds 80 that you've done is a race that I've looked at. I've done
recommend it.
I've done the Hardmoors 60.
Yeah, I'm looking at that for
which is really enjoyable.
Yeah, Helmsley onwards, isn't it? I think.
It's from. It'll come to me in a moment. You're actually going south on it. So is it
the coastal one?
Yeah, it's the coastal one.
Yeah,
so
it's the last half of the Cleveland Way.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, yeah. And you finish down in Filey, and I can't remember the name of where Gisborough you're starting.
Yeah.
And from Gisborough down to Filey, it's really nice. But what I found with the 200 milers that I've done, thankfully I learnt a lot of lessons in between them, because my first one I basically went with the kind of strategy you've talked about, of just run till you can't run anymore and then see what happens, kind of, because that's what you do when you don't know what you're doing. So I ran 50 miles pretty fast, and then fell apart and dragged myself the last 50 miles, which was rather painful. I didn't really want to do that.
I remember you telling me about that.
And but then this year,
you were still recovering last April from that, weren't you?
Yeah, it was, I was kind of just back to it when we met. Whereas actually this time round, we're in March now, and depending on what I run tomorrow, I could be putting in my biggest training month I've ever done. Like a month earlier, sort of recovery wise, and going beyond where I was at last year already. And the biggest difference that I changed was understanding what the intensity does to you. Like we talked about a little bit on Facebook, and I'm not an expert in it. I'm just understanding enough to make a difference to myself.
See what works for you.
And what I've found, and when I say found, as in I've found the right things to read that other people have written about it, and then tried it on myself, is when you're working at different intensities, you start burning different fuel in your body, and so at low intensity, like you'll have been at for that first 65 miles, your body can quite easily just run on fat reserves and just burn body fat.
Yeah.
And you actually create very few byproducts like lactic acid and things like that. There's almost none getting built up. When you then go that bit faster, your body switches over, and the kind of what seems to me the last piece of the puzzle, but it's the last piece until I learn the next piece, if that makes sense, is that the next piece of the puzzle is that I thought it then switched over completely to carbohydrates, but your body doesn't. It actually switches over to a mix of fat and carbohydrates as you go into full, aerobic respiration where you're working hard, and that's a kind of pace, like marathon pace kind of thing. And what I've then found is a big trick to that is you can train your body to burn a bigger percentage of fat than carbs. So therefore you need to eat less during the race, because there's a limit to how fast you can digest carbs, and there's all kinds of stomach issues that are infamous in ultras. But you can train your body, and some people train to like 95% fat. I don't think, and I'm not an expert, but I don't think you can go to 100% fat at that intensity. At the low intensity you can, and then you get the highest intensity, you're into anaerobic respiration, which is where you're building up lactic acid and stuff. And one of the things that I've really worked on, and I'm very much learning, is that when you hit the hills, it's so easy to push yourself up 2 levels in your respiration without realizing it. And this is where, when people talk about doing like a tempo run, it scares me if you're doing hills, because you're running at the same speed, but actually your work rate doubles and triples as you start hitting the hills, and your heart rate goes right up, and so it could be in the first few miles of a race you have loads of lactic acid kicking around in your muscles, which is then starting to attack you.
It takes a long time to get rid of.
It takes a long time to get rid of. And so exactly as you experienced on that race, what I'm finding is keep the low intensity for as long as possible, and then switch it up. But what I'm training my body to do, and trying to train my body to do, is run at the higher intensity, but keep all the benefits of the low intensity. And so my training, I took 10 hours off my Spine Challenger time, so something's working. And
you weren't destroyed at the end of it?
No, other than the fact that I had a trauma injury, and I'd fallen, and it was close to rupturing a tendon in my leg, which was extremely painful. Other than that injury, which is that's something that's going to hit you, and I'm actually doing more strength training to try and avoid that, and actually balance training, which is something else we can talk about as well. So something else I've been learning about. Other than the injury, I was completely fine. I could have kept going. I'd have been fine running 150 miles that day at that pace, because I was able easily to consume enough carbs to replace what I was burning, and then I was just running on body fat, and it's surprisingly efficient, and it takes a surprisingly small amount of body fat to keep going.
3,500 calories per pound, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've all got a few pounds to spare, haven't we?
Well, exactly. So even a lean person probably has about at least 100 miles worth of, easily 100 miles in them, without having to consume anything at all other than sort of keeping yourself happy. And so, last Sunday I did a fell race, which is only the 4th time I've done a fell race. I always go for long ones. It was 15 mile, which is a long fell race, but short when you do ultras. But I ran at top end of my aerobic sort of threshold, so not into anaerobic. In fact, I touched it because I actually ran it with a heart rate monitor on, so I could check the data afterwards.
I do that a lot these days.
And I was pushing the kind of the threshold all the way. But a lot of my training, because I train for ultras, I've been doing it in a fasted state, just like 12 to 14 hours fasted. so that and then at low intensity. That's one of the ways to practice burning body fat. But then I ate a load of carbs before the race, and had tailwind during the race, and it's like being turbocharged. I looked at my time from a similar race. I haven't done that particular race before, but a similar race I did a year before, or 6 months before. I took an hour off.
Yeah.
3.5 hours down to 2.5 hours.
It's working for you then.
I mean, that's a big difference. It's a really big difference.
Yeah.
And I went with a group of friends who are all much more experienced fell runners than me. And yeah, there's a couple of guys I know. One was in 6th place, and one was still well ahead of me. And yeah, I'm not going to touch those guys. They're athletes. They've got this natural ability and the younger and everything else.
Yeah.
But the people who are around my level who normally beat me, I beat them all. Every one of them on the day. It's so yeah. There's definitely, I'm finding for me, there's something in that of training my body to burn more fat.
I'm sure there is. I think I don't know. It's what works for you, isn't it? But I sometimes wonder, particularly in marathons, they're saying you need to be taking, 3 of these gels an hour, 1 every 3 miles, and you see people running with so much stuff.
Yes.
And my last 2 marathons, I've taken 1 gel with me. Yeah. And what I usually do is massive breakfast, porridge and eggs and bread and all sorts, and then about a pint of fairly strong tailwind just before the start, and then that's it. And I carry a gel, and the whole last year I had it, and I just thought, well, I'll take it at 22 miles just 'cause I'm sick of carrying it. But I don't think I really needed it.
No.
And you sometimes wonder. I think I picked something up. I'm not sure if it came from you actually, or was on Facebook, and they were looking at particularly the fat burning thing. There's a formula, 180 minus your age.
Yes.
And you can add various bits or take various bits off depending on how much running you've done or how ill or well you are. And I find that very useful. It's the discipline.
The math.
That's the challenge.
It's talk.
It does take some discipline because a lot of me, 5k speed. I thought a lot of my speed had gone basically by doing. I could do a lot of miles at aerobic now. Just to see if it works. Really. It does seem to. Like I say, that marathon. Why are people taking all these gels? And maybe I'm starting to burn fat more.
Yeah. Well, I think actually part of the answer is, I think that there's a few things to it. One is, I think if you are going to try and run as fast as you can, which a marathon you are running fast, if you're pushing yourself, then you are going to need carbohydrates to run as fast as you can. But I think and I'm no marathon expert, so because I'm more focused at the longer distance, but it does seem to me that if you trained your body to burn more fat and then you eat the carbs, it's like I say, I tried it myself last weekend. I'm just getting to that level of fat adaptation now. It's like being turbocharged. You put in performances far better than you've ever done before, and that's an interesting thing. Like I say, I understand why they want the carbs, but probably they don't need quite that as much if they were trained to be more fat adapted. But if you are, it is, like I said, I tried it to try and hit my kind of peak performance, just kind of as an experiment, just to see what I can take, because I've got a place in the Lakeland 100 in September, July.
It's a good race to leave. I've not done that yet.
Yeah, and that's one where I'm going to have to run faster than just being down in my sort of bottom, in my sort of in my MAF heart rate zone. I'm going to have to push above that to definitely be comfortable with cut-offs. That's
the thing, isn't it?
That's the thing, and so that's why I'm experimenting now. Is I know because I've done it on the spine race for 108, 112 miles, whatever it was, in 36 hours. For that period of time, if I keep my work rate low, I can just keep going and going and going, and it's fantastic, and it feels so good. So I know that works, and I know I've got that base now, but I'm having a look at, well, how can I go faster but not upset the system, as it were. So I'm experimenting with, like I say, looking at the mix of carbs and fat, and that could be wrong. And I know there are people that absolutely swear blind that you have to stay on the fat. There's people on keto diets and people burning protein, and you know, there's lots of different ideas out there. Like you say, you got to find what works for you. And for me, this seems
like
to
you
be...
say, you're not just burning one. Your body's very clever at what it does. It'll burn all of them.
It will.
At different rates, preferentially.
Exactly. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is just nudge those rates. Because what I have found is, like, beyond 50 miles, if I try to just go on carbs, I get the stomach problems like everybody else. And so that's part of the idea as well, that I can go for the mixture, which means I don't have to keep putting loads of carbs in. Still put some in, but I'm not then having the stomach problems because I'm actually not asking my stomach to do as much. And that's a big part of it. Because again, during the spine, I was expecting that, because of the way I'd been training, that my body would just kind of want fat, and all my body wanted during that race was carbs. Well, I got to there's only one checkpoint where you get given food, and then there's a few spine angels along the way who offer you things, and all I wanted was carbs. Because I wasn't 100% fat.
Nothing will give you that hit, will it?
No, that's right. And it worked, and it was good. But I didn't actually need to eat very much. Now I know from talking to fully fat adapted people, they're doing the full spine race, 268 miles, on like a couple of 100 calories a day, actually being consumed during the race.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Which, if you can get to that, I can understand why it's so efficient, because you're not using any of your sort of blood energy in your stomach. No. You're putting it all into your legs and your arms.
Well, every time you eat, your blood's being redirected to you.
Exactly. So you know, I can follow the logic that the less you ask your stomach to do, the more energy you've got for your legs. So, but yeah, it's interesting.
Is full spine on your calendar?
I may have a place in it for next year. I need to pay for it yet, but yes, I have applied and I have been accepted.
Well, that's my long-term plan. Really.
Yeah, well,
next year challenger.
Yeah, I mean that's what.
Hopefully. Yeah,
it's what got me hooked on running. You know, I similar to yourself actually. I got the idea sparked by somebody telling me that it wasn't going to happen, and deciding, well, I'll prove them wrong, and started getting fit. And then I was actually out with Mountain Rescue supporting the spine, and got talking to a guy from the Borders Mountain Rescue team who was he was doing the full spine that year, Duncan, who I've seen on the 2 challenges I've done since. And Duncan said, yeah, you can definitely do it. You know, you'll be fine. So a year later, there I was on the start line.
This isn't for people like me. It's a crisis of confidence with me, really. At the moment, I can run fast, but everything's just so new. You know, the kit.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting up there a few weeks ago and thinking, do you know, if I push on, I'm going to die. I'm just wet and cold and miserable. I'm going to go back. And the navigation issues. You learn in the army, but you know, it's a long time ago. I didn't do much of it even then, but
then I'd say it's quite different as well, because I actually learned to navigate in the army as well. Actually, I was just in the TA, but that is where I kind of learned to navigate, and then I did mountaineering. So again, you need to navigate there, and then into mountain rescue. Need to navigate, and then started doing things like the spine, and suddenly I've got to learn how to use a GPS, which I've never really bothered with before.
I bought one.
And it's like,
I took it out yesterday.
But actually, when you get used to using it, they're really good. But again, it's something else new that you're kind of not used to.
Do you not find like you've got your watch, you've got your phone, you've got the GPS navigator, also the distraction level of all the kit. You know, I was thinking that, thank goodness I'm out in the national park now. There's no phone mast. My phone's going to do nothing. And then every 5 minutes it was going beep. Well, it was coming up on my watch. I was thinking I should just turn some of this distracting stuff off.
Yeah.
You know, and not have to look at it or think about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just all the time in normal life, I have Bluetooth on my phone switched off.
Yeah.
And it's only after I do a run, I turn Bluetooth on to synchronize the watch to the phone, and then I turn it off again, because I don't like in my day job, I'm getting hundreds of emails, and it's a 24/7 business, and I've got to switch stuff off, and it's not off. I always have my phone on silent. Certain things vibrate because there's certain messages I want to know about. Most things I get no sound, no vibration when the messages come through, and I'll look at it periodically and kind of free myself from that, because as you say, it can be. I mean, some people really like it when you get into checkpoints and things, to go on Facebook and see the hundreds of messages that people are writing, and I can see the attraction in that. And actually, one of my friends, Gary, who was doing the full spine this January, he was messaging and reading messages. He was doing some Facebook Live on the route, and actually, like, he was speaking, and I answered a question by typing, because it tells you who's watching, and he asked me a question, I answered it typing, and he replied to me on Facebook Live, and it's fantastic if you can do that. But I'm like you, I find it a distraction.
I just like to get my head down and into the zone and get heart rate right.
The other thing you then get into is you've got to charge all of this stuff.
Yeah, then you've got your charger, of course. And from and all these things weigh, don't they?
Yeah,
suddenly
they do.
You find you've got your charger, you've got your phone, which you have to carry, you've got a GPS device. It's something
and your head torch.
And all the batteries for that. And you've got a kilo of weight.
You've got 16 hours of darkness out of every 24 during the middle of winter on the spine race. So, I mean, I use a torch with a rechargeable battery. I have 2 battery packs for it. And so then I carry a charge pack, which it's just a USB charge pack, so I can charge my watch, my phone, or my head torch. And I have another one in my drop bag, so I can switch them out if I need to. That's the way I do it. And
seems very sensible.
in fact, my GPS can be charged. So my GPS, head torch, watch,
you carry 2
phone.
head torches?
Well, I carry it's a removable charge pack. So
you can continually have
that
on a recharge.
It's like £50 for a second charge pack.
Exactly.
It's it's a lot of money.
Everything is
it's
about £50 to £100, isn't it?
Yeah, £120 head torch and £50 for a second charge pack. But for me, that's the system that works, because I can charge anything that needs charging from the same source, and it's the same principle as having everything taking the same kind of batteries. Because actually, it's the same battery because it's a charge pack. The worst thing actually is I have to carry 3 different wires with the charge pack. A wire for the watch, a wire for the phone, and a wire for the GPS. The head torch can plug straight into it. It's the only one that does.
How do you find the navigation on the spine? Night navigation, anyway.
The tricky part, which would be actually really easy in the daytime, it's before Gargrave, around Lothersdale area, either side of Lothersdale. You're going through like farmers' fields, kind of fields, and they all look the same. And I couldn't. Most of the spine, the Challenger route, I could actually sit and I could write you out quite detailed directions off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it, but I could go through in sequence and actually write it all out. That section there, I could not accurately describe it because it's just too much the same, and you hit it in the early hours of the morning. Depending on how fast you go, anywhere between 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning kind of time. And it's usually when I'm at my lowest, because your body's just starting to recognise that you're not going to bed, and it's putting up a bit of a fight against that. And it's not getting light yet. Once it gets light, you start to get a bit of a lift. And it's far enough out of Hebden checkpoint as well. And it's definitely the point where I have my lowest. And it's awkward to navigate unless you're sort of really on top of it, and it's worked out to be the only bit that I didn't re-recce from the year before. So it's that's definitely the kind of the worst bit, because it's because it's like a field and you're going diagonally across it. Everybody takes a slightly different path, so there isn't a trod. There's no clear.
Quite, yeah.
Because even on like the hill next to here where I go running, I was on there this morning. It was really foggy actually early on, around sort of 7:30 this morning. Yeah, maybe I didn't get out quite that early, maybe 8. And you couldn't see where the stile is at the other side of the field because it's foggy. But I can see it's a grass field, but I know there's this curved track that goes across, and if you look at the ground carefully, you can see that line that everybody takes, and so you can follow it, and then it brings you to where the stile is. But there's a couple of sections on the Challenger where you can't see those lines on the ground, even when you know they're there.
You see the head torches of other people. There's a lot of people in front of you, isn't there? Is that much of a help?
Well, it's surprising that people might only be 5 or 10 minutes ahead of you in time, and that can be right across in the next field and you can't see them.
Yeah.
So at times there was one section where a couple of people, I caught up to one guy, a couple of other people caught up to me, and the two that caught up were running really well on technical downhill section, and I couldn't quite keep up with them with speed. But as they got into the next field and had to search around a bit for where the stile was, I could then go diagonally straight across the field and caught them up.
Yeah.
So there is, you do sometimes get that kind of help that there's torches ahead, but you get amazingly spread out. From up to Hebden, you pretty much can always see head torches. But then so many people take different strategies there, and so many people waste a lot of time there. Once you come out of there, you're much more spread out, because some people are going for sleep, a few hours sleep. I was in there, I think 30 or 40 minutes this year, which was a bit longer than planned, but only because I had to change all my clothes because they were soaked. And I hadn't planned on changing everything this year. Last year I was in there an hour and a half. And that's without any without sleeping. But last year I had to see medics and I had stomach problems, and so I had to kind of get myself right to head out again. Whereas this year it was just all practical stuff. I had to completely change everything, change things from my drop bag into my bag and eat and get out again, and 40 minutes disappeared.
It's amazing how quickly time goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You don't really want to faff, but
no, but then I arrived in there with 3 other guys on the MR Challenge from Upper Wharfdale team. The guy they finished and joined second and did a great job of sticking together the whole time. But we walked in together, and I left good 10 or 15 minutes ahead of them. And the first one of them was ready before me, and that's potentially the downside of sticking with people. Which is why I thought ultimately over the rest of the route, I might not beat all 3 of them, but I think I'm going to beat 1 or 2 of them because they probably won't stick together. But they actually pulled each other through it and did a great job of sticking together, and finished in about an hour ahead of me, which was good on them. Really well done for having that kind of teamwork. Because like I say, at that point when they went into that checkpoint, it did look like they were throwing time away by being in a group. But
must have worked for them.
Yeah, it did. So
I have the big one this year is is again a long distance walking association one. It's their 100. It's Hadrian 100 it's called.
Yeah, I was looking at that when you told me about it.
About a year or so ago, didn't I? Because I'm thinking, because it was basically everything's been leading up to that really. It's slightly getting longer and longer.
When is that?
25th of May.
25th, right.
It's basically 20 miles of the Hadrian's Wall from Exham, and then down the Pennine Way over Cross Fell. That's a 30-mile section, and 20 mile across, a big rectangle basically, and then 30 miles straight back up. So mixtures of South Tyne Way and Pennine. I'm not sure what the return bit up is, but that's a 48-hour cut off. But it's actually quite useful because the checkpoints don't actually open. It's aimed at walkers. So the checkpoints aren't actually opening that soon. So it will restrict me because I can't go too fast, or else I won't be getting to checkpoints before they open, and I won't get me click. So that could be quite useful. I think they sort of aim it at being, for the faster ones, finishing in 24 hours, and all the checkpoints are laid out for that. But it's aimed at a walking event. 48 hours for a 100-miler is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched a few of the starts on YouTube. The last couple, and lots of old boys in floppy hats, basically, and big rucksacks and that sort of thing. And they're all going out, knowing they're going to be awake for 2 days, 2 nights.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the key to that is just the kind of relentlessness of it. You just
keep it moving.
You don't stop. Yeah, you keep moving, because it's one of the things that changed. To, like I said, ultimately took 10 hours off my time, and it's some of the little things that, I mean, it's fantastic when family and friends pop up along the coast to say hello to you.
Yeah. And
I told everybody beforehand this time, I obviously don't want to stop people doing that. They're not coming out to support. It's an unsupported event, but they're allowed to pop up and give you a hug and give chocolate or whatever to everybody that comes past. That's allowed. But I said, I'm not going to stop and talk to you. If you want to talk to me, you can walk alongside me and speak. That's not offering any unfair support. I'm not going to stand still and speak to you. And when I sort of saw like mountain rescue teams out giving out cups of tea and stuff like that, in fact the one at Torside, I got there and they didn't have a cup of tea ready. They were happy to make me one, so I just said thanks and went on. I didn't want to stand still and wait for a cup of tea to be made.
Yeah. All these little 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, 3 minutes. You do that 10 times along the route. It's a chunk of time that's just gone for nothing. And so as I went into sort of other places, I would just pick something up and just walk at a slow pace, eating and drinking, rather than being stopped.
Yeah.
Because it's just you're covering ground slowly, but you're still covering ground.
Yeah.
When you stop, that's the killer. That's what I've been learning. Is really kind of be harsh on yourself with the stops.
Yeah, because even if you're just walking slowly.
Yeah, don't be hard. Yeah, allow yourself.
Forward, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to slow down and sort yourself out and eat and drink.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's what surprised me is coming from a running background, predominantly road running background. Really, I did Edale to Croydon yesterday.
Yeah.
I was going to go a bit further, but it was 18 miles to Croydon. I thought it was 16, and I thought, it's just a nice day, so I stopped there.
Yeah.
But just how, if you're not used to what it's like up on the Pennines, just getting your head around just how slow it's going to be and how unrunnable a lot of it is.
Yes.
And I was thinking, I usually aim for certainly on the Wolds, looking at 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours I'll get 10 miles in, and that's a reasonable pace that I can keep up. No chance on the Pennines. I was working quite hard, and basically it worked out about 4 mile an hour, and that was running every little bit I could run.
Yeah.
But there's so much of it you can't, of course. I mean, it was great on those flags because they were dry and really grippy, but the uphill bits, the dreadfully sort of eroded, with paths with all the rocks that you can't run on, can you? Because I don't know, perhaps people can, but me, I was thinking, if I try and run on that, I'm going to sprain my ankle.
Well, that's and then I mean, that section you'll be doing in daylight, but there's that kind of ground further on that you do in the dark.
Yeah.
And that's even more risk. So I mean, that's part of the reason why I've been doing some fell races, is that the ground you run on in a fell race is even more extreme. And so then when I see that kind of ground on the trail ultras, which is what I like doing, I'm more easily coping with it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, actually, it does look runnable now.
Yeah. Whereas before it
wasn't runnable. But it is. I definitely think it's a risk thing, in that, like, when it's dark, I'll run less of the technical ground than I will when it's light.
Yeah.
Because there's just the risk of hurting yourself. But then, you're trying to be efficient, especially on the downhills, and use the gravity a bit. But yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to. Yeah,
tumble down.
I mean, I nearly snapped a pole coming down the section you're talking about, because
there's a really steep sort of paved section going down off Bleaklow, isn't there, or before?
Yeah, well, it's a bit coming down off Bleaklow, just before there's like a stream that you cross.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, just before there, I put a foot down and the mud I just slid in the mud, and I was going to go over into the stream probably, and I slammed a pole down, and it bent to what I can only describe as a fierce angle, and then just popped back, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But I basically threw my whole weight onto this pole to stop myself going.
Yeah. I'm new to poles. I do have a pair now.
Yeah, but the pole definitely saved me there. But poles are good, but again, it's another thing to learn. One of the things that I've learnt about poles is make sure you can attach them on the move to your vest or your pack.
Yeah.
Because there's sections, especially depending on how much you use them. By the end of the Challenger this time, my shoulders and arms were so tired I couldn't use my poles anymore. So if I couldn't have stored them easily in my pack, I'm then using even more energy to carrying them in my hands. So yeah, being able to store the poles in easily, which for me means on the front, because then you can take them on and off and actually use them when you need to use them and put them away when you don't need them, just to give your arms a rest. Because unlike my friend, do you know Howard Dracup?
Only from Facebook, really.
Yeah,
I see him on there a lot, and I know he did the spine.
Yeah, he finished third in the Challenger, and there's a video that one of the professionals took, which just happens to have a clip of him in it. And it's on some relatively easy ground, but it's a beautiful example of he's running, using his poles just for efficiency. Then he comes to, it's only about 3 or 4 steps of uphill, and he instantly breaks into a walk, uses the poles kind of more heavily, gets up there, and then straight back into a run, and never breaks stride. And the transition's transition's really efficient, and that's what you do if you need to be at that level to get a third place.
He's worked hard at it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's worked very hard at it. But yeah, I think that's the kind of thing to aspire to, and that's I'm nowhere.
It's all new skills, isn't it? Everything. When you get to these sort of events, everything is new, and everything is actually quite hard to learn, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I don't mind going out and doing the miles. I do a lot of miles. Well, not in comparison with some people, but I'll run for 40, 50 mile a week every week.
Yeah.
And but it's everything else. The kit, everything is just new. Just getting used to the fact that you're going to be going a lot slower, because you're carrying a lot of weight, aren't you?
Yeah. Which therefore means you wear more to stay warm.
Yeah.
Because you'd be. I mean, like last Sunday it wasn't warm. I think it was 4 or 5 degrees when we started off on this fell race, and I was wearing a short sleeve t-shirt with my club running vest over the top of it. That's all I was in, shorts and short socks and stuff, and I was hot by midpoint of the race, because you're only out for a short time. You're going fast, you get really hot, and then you come into this stuff and you're thinking, I need to run with a jacket on all the time. and it's so I mean I go for lots of thin layers is my preference, so I can chop and change, but even so you still don't want to take your pack off to put something away or get something out. And
that's the next purchase, really. I've got a good you just end up with more and more kit, don't you? More and more packs. I've got a lovely light UD one, which 5 litre I think, or 6 litres, something like that, and that's great for most things. But I need something big with stuff on the front, because I've got an old Montaigne pack, and it's really more of a climber's pack, really. It's a cracker. I used to use it on the mountain marathons, and it's great for that. It's just so tough. You could slide downhill on it. It's just tough but it's got nothing on the front.
Yes.
And that's one thing I noticed yesterday, particularly. If you can't reach your water easily, what happens is you just don't drink
Yep.
because you want to keep moving.
Yeah.
So I was getting to thinking, well, I'll have some when I cross the next road, or I'll have some when I get to Corrodon. And no, that's not the way, is it?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and the food is all in the back again.
Yes.
Because there's no storage on the front whatsoever. So I know I've got to get a new pack.
Basically, what I've got to now is that all of the food that I'm going to eat between checkpoints is on the front, and all of my water's on the front.
Yeah.
Now, in the rules, you have to have 2 litre water carrying capability. So I have an empty 2 litre bladder in my pack, because then I'm compliant.
Yeah.
But actually, I carry 2 bottles on the front. That's what I actually
So
use.
just a litre.
Well, I've ended up with a 750ml bottle and a 500ml bottle. It's just.
Yeah, because it's not quite enough, is it, for a 10-mile stage, is it?
Well, exactly.
Or 12 or 13
I
miles.
found that works really well. The 750ml bottle, it's kind of easier to drink from. It's easier to take in and out, and that's enough through most of the, because it's not only the checkpoints where you can get water. There's a few places along the way that's organised places where you can get water, and the 750ml is almost enough on its own. Because again, you're in the middle of winter, so you drink a bit less anyway because it's cold.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
So you're not sweating as much.
Yeah.
So you're not drinking a lot. But then the 500ml, I only once got close to emptying that, like drinking it, which means I got it just right. I wasn't carrying loads of excess. So that worked for me. But yeah, it's a 25 litre UD vest that I've got, but then I've added extra pouches for food.
Right, yeah.
Because with that is, it's got the bottle holders on the front and it's got a few pockets on the front, but it still wasn't enough for me. So
that's what I'm thinking. 25 litres.
Yeah, it was good. That worked well. Yeah.
So what have you got coming up then, apart from the spine, of course? Is it everything now?
Well, the Lakeland 100.
Of course.
Yeah. In May, I've got the Lakeland 3-day event, but I think of that as like a training camp. It's a lovely event. So it's the full title is Silver Great Lakeland 3-day. It's the early May bank holiday weekend.
Yeah.
There's still places on it. I'll see you there. And yeah,
Is it in May?
Yeah, the early May bank holiday weekend. It's a training camp, so it's good when you're getting ready for your event at the end of May, you see. So you turn up on Friday night, park up, you get given your map for the next 3 days, and set up your tent, camp there. Right. The next morning, you hand in a 60 litre dry bag with all your kit, including your tent, and you follow the map and you run to the next campsite.
Oh, right, and they transport your stuff.
And they transport, your 60 litre dry bag to the next point, and then run to the next point. And then there's 3 choices of routes to follow. So you can do the cafe route, which is only about half marathon distance with a cafe in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Or you can do the Wainwright route, which is what I was doing last time, it was about 22 miles Saturday, 22 Sunday, and it was about 14 I think on the Monday. But we did 28 summits in that.
Excellent. Yeah.
It's the most descent I've ever done in 3 days.
I've done something similar. I did those Saunders Lakeland, which I think was a 2-day event. This 2016.
In fact, the friend that I've been doing the 3-day event with, he's doing that Saunders event as well. It is similar. Yeah.
That was a looped thing, so you went back to your tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they sell you beer as well, which is nice.
Yeah, well, that's in fact the last year, which was the first time I've done this, was the first time they actually had the Saturday night and the Sunday night camping in the same place, because they just found the perfect spot, and it really was, and it was definitely the right decision. So we did loop round on the Saturday. Saturday we got there, then we looped on the Sunday, and then the Monday sort of back to the cars kind of thing. But it was just fantastic. Big marquee up where they're selling the beer and stuff. But that means if the weather's bad, you've got kind of a, not quite an indoor space, but a communal space. Yeah. So you're not just you at your tent. Yeah. There's a decent amount of space, and then they had other companies in doing pizzas and other kind of
That's
food that you
really
could
good
buy.
fun, yeah.
So the plan was to take all your food, but actually you could buy most of it there, and it was all good quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very to like about it. I haven't done many mountain marathons, but I have a friend who's actually very keen on them. And I did one in 15, just after I'd done my head actually. I did that in the May, and I did the RAB. It was the RAB then.
Yeah.
That was in the October.
Right.
So it's these fascinating little things about how much, because you have to carry everything on the RAB. They're really hardcore.
Yes.
You can't leave anything behind. It's everything you take, you carry, and you feed yourself. So going through the supermarket looking for the highest possible calorific food for the lowest possible weight. And these are things you don't do unless you're doing these sort of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Good fun.
It is. Yeah. And then halfway through the event, your body starts to change what kind of food it wants, and yeah. Yeah. It's good. So you've got the Hadrian 100 coming
Yeah,
up.
we've got a busy period. I'm doing Woldsman, which is a 50 next weekend.
Right.
That's a long distance walking association again. We'll try and do that. Hopefully, I want to do it in 10 hours, but I've got Matt Morris who wants to do it in 9. So we'll see. I'm not gonna let myself get carried away. But it's lovely in the East Yorkshire Wolds. It's like I say, it's very very rolling, beautiful countryside really, and it tends to be dry valleys because it's all on chalk.
Yep.
Whereas it's not usually that wet. Then Oldham Way Ultra. That's the week after, is it? 2 weeks after?
Yeah, Easter weekend it is, isn't it? Yeah.
And then the 25th is that. Caroline knows all these much better than me. She spiels them off. What am I doing after that? Caroline knows.
Hadrian's.
Yep, Hadrian's, that's 25th.
White Rose Ultra.
White Rose, yeah, that's a summer one. The
you
Wayne
did.
was organising, yeah. Just
If
it's a one loop, isn't it? So it's only 30 mile.
Yeah.
Well, they've got a barbecue on and stuff, and might camp out. It sounds lovely that. So do
Well, that starts and finishes like a mile from here.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it from Slowett, is it, or?
I think it's going from the bowling club again, an outlane. I think.
Never done it, so I don't know. But it
I've
looks good. But it's a lot on road, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is that right?
It is a lot of road. Yeah, I've done the winter one the last 2 years. That was my first ultra. Doing one loop of that. I did 2 loops this winter.
So I might well run that fairly light then, and not carry anything much apart from water bottles.
Yeah, I think there's the basic kind of compulsory carry a waterproofs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, and then I know we're doing the Castle Shore 24.
Yes, I should be. Well, I've said I'm going to volunteer on that. I'm kind because that's getting a bit close to the Lakeland 100 for me.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the event, so I think basically I'm going to be running some loops in the opposite direction in the night just to check people are okay.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
That's what I've been asked to do so far because I said I want to do some running because it's only 2 or 3 weeks before the Lakeland 100, so I don't want to enter the event and push myself.
Well, Carrie's doing it. She's
excellent.
When you look at some of the events out there, like the Endurers and some of they're very expensive.
Yes.
And you don't actually get that much for your money, really, do you? Whereas this one's got food on almost all night. They're such good value for money events, aren't they? Really?
Yeah. So,
for a first ultra, for Caroline, she's just basically to see how far she can get. Really. But there's everything's on hand, isn't it? And
I believe so.
As little as you like.
I'm trying to think of the name of it because it's part of Wayne's team OA, but it's somebody else's idea, and he's supporting them to organise the event. And I keep forgetting her name. I have met her when I told her I'd come along and help out.
Yeah.
So it's
Is Angela? Is it Angela?
Yes.
Angela Buckley.
Angela Buckley.
Is it her event then?
Yes, it's her event. Yeah.
Oh, great! Yeah, 'cause I picked something up on Strava about her recceing it.
Yes.
And talking about it fairly knowledgeably. So yeah.
It's Angela's event.
Brilliant. Good news.
So
we saw a lot of her last year anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'd done I helped out with, because Howard did his first event last year as well, the Whitworth. He did a half marathon and marathon, and he's doing an ultra version this year as well.
Oh right.
So that's quite an interesting event. I ran the marathon route to check the flags immediately before it, and somebody had moved some of the flags, so it was a good job we did.
Really? Oh dear.
So yeah, that's what I like to do with these local events, because they're kind of just around this kind of area where if I don't think I'm going to be right to race it, it's nice to go and help out and use it for some training, but at the same time, help out with the event. So
it's nice to help out.
Yeah.
I love coming over here because we grew up not so far away in Oldham.
Yeah.
And that neck of the woods. It's funny because we lived there for such a long time, and these hills were just always there on the horizon. I never went into them. Never went into them. And now we live 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And frequently drive. Spend emptying a tank of petrol to get here and run the things.
Yeah.
But I do like the local events. I think it keeps me a bit sort of connected in some way to my old town. But particularly Oldham Way Ultra. That's probably what really gave me the idea for an ultra, really, when I just saw the title. But and then found actually like them.
Yeah, well, I worked in Oldham for 14 years.
Aye.
And again, it was kind of probably 70% of the Oldham Way Ultra I'd been into those places over the years.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I'd ever sort of connected them all together.
Yeah.
So
it was new for me. I used to be a police officer at one time in Oldham. Did 8 years as a bobby, and it being away from Oldham for such a long time, because we left Oldham in 2005. And so an awful lot of the places you see, through Failsworth and the canal system particularly, which in my day as a bobby, because I worked around there, they were a complete mess.
Yeah.
People would dump cars in the locks and burn the locks out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just destroy the machinery, and they were a complete mess. And it was wonderful running through some of those areas and just seeing just how nicely they've been developed and just how good they look now.
Yeah.
With only 10 years or so ago, when they were terrible. They were terrible. Must have spent some money. So yeah, I was reading somebody's blog about the Oldham Way Ultra from a few years ago, and they were saying it was a bit run down, but I don't see that now.
No, I was very pleasantly surprised as well.
Yeah.
Like I say, having also been in that kind of area in the same sort of time period, I found the route far more pleasant than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I knew the areas around the start and the finish. That area is very nice because you're actually in the hills and going up pots and pans and things like that. It's really nice. But so some of the more kind of the inner city
Western
area.
areas rather.
Yeah. I was surprised actually. The route does cut through things quite nicely.
Yeah, that's why I stayed with you a lot, really. Because I wasn't sure of the navigation.
Neither was I. That's why I was sticking with Fiona.
I saw her, looking. She obviously knew where she was going. And I thought, right, I'm not losing these people because otherwise I'm going to be standing there on the Rochdale Canal, scratching my head because there's the one turn off, isn't there? If you miss that, then it's pretty difficult to see.
Yeah,
you're stuck, aren't you?
Yeah.
Straight into Tameside.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing it again. I know the course now, so
yep.
I don't have to rely on Fiona. Having said that, she third turn of speed, wasn't it?
Yes.
We ran most of it, didn't we, until we got to them hills.
Yeah, and Fiona's running well again now. She'd had a bit of problems during last year with her knee. But
she was talking about her knee last year.
Yeah.
My ankle, her knee were.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, she's on top of that now with some good physio work and. Yeah.
I think they get better if you keep the training consistent and spread it out through the week. I think that's often the good thing to do with these.
Yeah, I mean, I've found that I need to do regular strength work to just help protect the joints and even things out.
Yeah, I should do that. That's my problem. I don't really do anything except run.
Yeah.
And I really should. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely found it's been helping me because again, as after I'd done kind of ultras leading up towards the Challenger last year, I then switched to running with the pack, and just got a massive pain in my left knee, and it was just a whole bunch of just minor things with muscles not firing together. So got physio and did physio exercises, and actually used a trainer at the gym, which I've never done before.
Yeah.
Great decision. Really pleased I did that with Simon Courtney. He's a very good runner as well. And I've continued doing that training program, and so I go to the gym twice a week now. Try and keep that as a minimum. Do a strength session on my legs, and do a like a core strength session.
Yeah. I know it makes sense. I really should do it.
Because I would definitely suggest at least some strength and core stuff leading up to when you're going to start training with the weight. Because the amount of weight you run with on the Challenger, I would expect to be more than what you've done on any other event. With your sleeping bag and your stove and everything else.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a good few kilograms heavier. And yeah, it's I have struggled with that in the past, and I flew through the race with it this time after about 6 weeks of strength work. You know,
Really? Didn't take much.
Didn't take much. It's just that keeping on top of it. So again, like because I raced on Sunday, my Friday core session last week, I only did sort of 2/3 session because I didn't want to be kind of hurting going into the race, and then my Tuesday strength session this week, I was still recovering from the race, so I went for, again, only did about a 2/3 strength session this week. But then by the time I came to core on Friday again, I'm in a full session again because now I'm recovered from the race, and so that's kind of the way I've been working it. You know, I keep the sessions there, but if I've either just before a race or just after, I'll ease off because I'm not trying to work the muscles too hard just before or just after a race, because the race has worked them hard enough.
Just maintain them.
But just try and keep that maintenance there, and it's working really well for me. I'm running the best I've ever been running, which is all you can really aim to do. Is
that's right.
Just keep progressing and do the best you can.
Yeah. I had the best years running of my life last year. You know, every PB, right? Because like I say, I used to run, but I never really took it very seriously when I was. Well, I wish I'd done it when I was in my 20s and 30s because last year was just really good from start to finish. You know, no injuries, and, everything just went well. But it's a new challenge now. So all the ultrathon, I'm just starting from scratch really, because I don't know very much about it. I've done 4 or 5 now, but there's always a lot more to learn, isn't there?
There is, yeah. I was thinking, I've done, you could call it 5 or 6 for me. I've done 5 that are definitely ultras, but then that 3-day event, it's 58 miles in 3 days, kind of an ultra.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. With all the elevation you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so that would mean I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done 7 ultras. Is what I've done so far. So my first one was November 2017. So I've not been doing them much longer than yourself.
No.
Which is that's why I like talking to people and sharing the ideas, sharing what little I know, and
seeing what works.
Finding
that's the thing. It's very difficult to give advice, isn't it? People often, the forums particularly just full of advice, and I just think, what works for one person just may not. In fact, probably won't work for another. You just got to just do it.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, the times I tend to answer the questions is when somebody's asking something and it sounds exactly the same as what I've been through.
Yeah.
If somebody asks a question, it's a bit off to the side, I'll leave it because. But when somebody describes something and I think that sounds exactly like what happened to me, then I offer my experience, because I think, okay, this is what happened with me, this is what I did, might be useful for you to know that. And I don't say this is what you must do. I say this is what happened to me. you can take it or leave it.
Just keep the eyes open, isn't it? It's
Yes.
like well, the first proper one I said, like I said, was last year in the Oldham, and nutrition, what? Nothing really. I just carried various bits and bobs I bought from Aldi, and every checkpoint we were going through, everyone was very carefully pouring the tailwind into things. I thought, I'm missing something here. There I was.
I was thinking the same thing.
With the cold Coke.
Yeah,
with flat Coke.
Yeah, I'd never tried tailwind at that point either.
No. But that was clearly a good idea, and I've used it ever since. It's just phenomenal stuff.
I mean, I find it works for me up to about 50 miles. And if I go longer, it really strongly disagrees with me after that. So if I'm going longer than 50 miles now, I won't use it at all. But less than 50 miles, it works terrifically.
It worked well for me on the 80 at the Hardwells. I don't think I ate anything else. But yeah, I am a big believer. I think you should be getting real food down at some point. I think that's important. Breads and.
Well, I think it's the range of stuff, because my understanding is like the tailwind's pretty much all carbs. You've got some electrolytes in there, but it's pretty much all carbs. And at some point, you do need fat and you do need protein, and that, I think that's part of the key to it. When you go in on long stuff, there does come that point, which is why I think the tailwind works well for me on shorter stuff, because I don't need the fats and carbs during that time. It probably works fine for me up to about sort of 8 hours or so, and I'm fine on tailwind. But beyond that, it really starts to disagree with me. But it starts to kind of disagree with me a bit before that. I don't know. Maybe it's.
You can generally tell, can't you? You'll drink it and you just can't get it down anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where I usually find.
Whereas
no physical problem. It's just difficult to get it down.
Yeah. Whereas I've done like
stick for water.
50k training run, like 31 mile training run, just tailwind, absolutely fine, flying along.
Yeah.
But going longer, it's
yeah, particularly like 7 days. You've got coming up next year, haven't you?
Yeah. So yeah, that'll once I do, like I say, I'm for the Lakeland 100. I think anyway. This is my current thinking, that I need to work on the balance of fat burning and carb burning to be able to put some good speed in. I'm looking at doing a faster 100 mile. And then once I get that done, the rest of the year, then I'm really just going to focus on becoming as fat adapted as I can. Because then that makes my nutrition as flexible as possible then for doing a full spine.
I'll look into that.
It's. Yeah, I mean the turning point for me with that, because again, there's different ways of becoming fat adapted. The turning point for me is being intermediate. Or some people call it intermediate fasting or time restricted eating, and that's what's been the key for me, basically, is that and the latest thing I've learned is I always eat after I've trained. So whatever time, day or night that I train, I'll eat. If I'm not training, then I stop eating about 9 o'clock at night. That's usually because I've trained earlier. Through till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock the next afternoon. And so go for 14 or 15
so you're getting
hours.
that fasting while you're sleeping in any case.
And then through the morning, and I find it improves my recovery, because again, part of the theory is that you're not putting all that blood into your stomach, so it can help to recover your legs. So my recovery is better than it's ever been, by significant amount, and it helps and then if I do just like a 6 mile 10k training run at 12 o'clock lunchtime, after I've not eaten since 9 o'clock the night before, that's when I'm becoming fat adapted. Interesting thing I was reading just yesterday is that some people have then tried to extend the theory and think, oh well, that's going to be great for weight loss, and it turns out it doesn't actually help weight loss in the slightest, which is just kind of just because I was reading it was a nice blog that was a summary of 3 different scientific studies, so kind of that what it's saying is that yes, during the exercise you'll burn fat, but afterwards your body burns more carbs afterwards if you've used fat during the exercise. And if you've used carbs during the exercise, because you've eaten before the exercise, your body will burn more fat afterwards. And so whichever way around you do it, it doesn't change your weight loss.
I've read just that study.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's the eating in a...
Yeah, but it's much more appropriate for an ultra runner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's fat when you're doing the job rather than carb.
So using exercise in a fasted state doesn't work for weight loss. That's proven on these studies, like you say, that we've both read. But doing exercise in a fasted state, and it needs to be low intensity exercise, particularly. This is in your MAF zone exercise in a fasted state. Definitely, in my experience and in stuff I've read, it definitely helps your fat adaptation. That's what in about 5 weeks of doing it before the Challenger got me like really shifted over how much fat I'm burning.
Yeah, you're a believer. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, and like I say, now I'm just experimenting with using the mix of fat and carbs to be able to go faster. And one of the keys to that, I find, actually is after a run. So if I've done a run in a fasted state, it's really important for me to eat carbs. Otherwise, I'm really depleted when I try to do my next run.
Yeah.
And the logic that's in my head, which could be right or could be wrong, because it's just what I've put together, is if you've depleted your glycogen stores, which ultimately will happen, you need to replace that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key
your
things.
Muscle glycogen, of course, because you carry a substantial amount in there as well.
Yeah. So anything you read about recovery nutrition says you've got to put those carbs back into your muscles as soon as possible after the exercise. And that's what I find has been really significant, is that I can be in a 14, 15, 16 hours fasted, go on a low intensity run. I could probably do 20, 30, 40k without even thinking, no problem at all. But if I don't eat carbs after that run, the next day or on my next run, I will really feel it. And that's what I'm finding, is that playing around with this stuff's great, but when I then look at recovery, it's kind of traditional. So because actually I did, because like this morning I did a couple of hours running, then went to my son's football, and now we're doing this. And I did a similar kind of thing a month or so ago, where I'd been for the run, I was back like 5 minutes in the house and then out to my son's football, and then so I didn't eat until after his football. And the next day when I tried to run, I was just ruined.
Yeah.
And that's what started me thinking about it. And so like today, I made sure I was back just long enough to throw a lot of food down my neck before I went to his football.
Yeah.
So my body can recover. Because actually walking around because I'm just reffing under 8 games, walking around on the pitch with the kids is actually really great recovery for my legs rather than being static.
Yeah.
It's really light, very, very low intensity, just strolling about. But the important thing is haven't eaten, so my body's now got the nutrients to sort itself out.
Yeah.
So
it'll all come down to glycogen, I'm sure.
I think so. That's my thinking. But I am interested still to learn more about the people that are sort of further on in their fat adaptation and how that works when they go into higher intensities, if they aren't carrying the carbs in their body, which people profess to be doing that, but I haven't found the studies that prove that that's happening. Because one of the things, obviously some people go into ketosis, but speaking to medical professionals, I've been advised not to try a keto diet, strongly advised by people that know about it. I'm keep working on finding one of these experts who is expert enough to come and talk about it in detail on the podcast, which is what I would really like. Unfortunately, it's my cousin's wife is she's a top diabetes dietitian, and she says that
I shall know about ketones then.
yes, ketones are something they try to get rid of in people that are in a very, very bad state. And she doesn't like the idea at all of people deliberately putting themselves into that state.
No.
But she's not an expert on sports nutrition or sports diet, so it's trying to find somebody that's the right combination of expert.
Yeah. The problem is ketones I work in a medical field. I do anesthetics. The problem is, speaking entirely as a layman here, is that ketones are acidic. So the more ketones you produce, the more acidic your blood is, and it just shifts everything.
Well, that's the kind of thing I've been hearing from. Like you say, there's so much evidence that say the bad, yet some people are getting, they're clearly getting great results. But then I've heard interviews with people that say, I'm on a keto diet and really believe in it, and what you're eating during a race are only carbs. So, well, I would really like to, and maybe it's already been done and I just haven't found the paper yet, but I'd really like to read the study done on people in a keto state doing ultras. It would be very interesting.
I've got to get Carrie to a concert tonight, so
yeah,
I think we're going to have to.
No, that's good.
Bring this to a close in the next 10 minutes or so, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Now we can bring it to a close, Mark. It's been really good.
It's been fantastic.
Having a chat with you.
Always enjoyed listening to your podcasts.
Thanks. Because as I say, the thing we're really trying to do with these podcasts, because I had a good hard think about it recently, because actually finding people who are willing to come and share their stories and are available when I'm available, which is all part of it, is not easy. It's the hardest part of doing it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This part of sitting here having a chat is really fun, and it's I love it. Somebody posted on Facebook yesterday about you've got to have a swear jar and you've got to have a jar for talking about running when nobody asked you to talk about running, and that one's full. Whereas this is somebody asking me to talk about running. I love it.
Well, yeah, runners just like talking about running.
Exactly. Yeah. So
we just bore everybody else. Nobody else wants to do it, do they?
Yeah. So recording these is really good.
You've been for a run, so well.
Yeah. But getting the episodes set up is difficult. So definitely. Share this round with your running club and everybody else. And,
I will. Thanks very much. Yeah.
And if people are interested to come on and talk about their story and their point of view, I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. There's a cracking lad called Paul Horsewood who ran Spine this year. He's done a few challenges as well. He did full Spine this year. I think he's going to do the full. They do a full one in summer as well, don't they?
Yes.
I think he's going to do that, and then that's going to be his, because he's done them all now. All the summer flares and. Fusion. There's Fusion, isn't it? There's Fusion next, isn't it? So he's thinking of that, and then I think he'll probably go up and do some Mont Blanc or something like that. But he'd be a good man to talk to. Yeah, I'll mention it to him.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Sound man.
Because it's the aim really I find is that the interviews with the Jasmine Paris's and things like that are fantastic, and I love them. And if there's people who want to come and talk on my podcast, brilliant.
I'd be delighted.
I'm not going to turn them down. But what I find is that when I listen to those people, like for myself, you can pick up some tips, but some of what they do is so far beyond what I'm doing. Yeah. That
professional athletes.
At
that level.
There's only a little bit I can pick up. Whereas when I talk to people who are at a similar level to me or just ahead of me, that's when I find I learn the most, and so that's really part of what I'm trying to do here, is by having a range of different people on who are at different levels, that listeners can find, that person is that's the person I'm going to learn a lot from, and hear their story and hear what they do and how they train and everything else, and that's a big part of it, because that's how I find I learn. I find that you kind of need to transition through some steps, and sometimes trying to jump 3 steps ahead. Maybe it works for you, but often. You need to go one step at a time.
Yeah. I'm a big learning by making mistakes. Like, and you find your mistakes trip you up in the ultra world, don't you? It's like anything,
Absolutely.
really. But you fall a lot harder.
Yeah.
You're out there in the dark, cold,
Yeah.
badly nourished.
Yeah. Right.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
For coming along.
Yeah.
And,
I'll look forward to listening to it. See what I sound like.
thank you for listening to Running Your Stories. That was a great interview with Mark Baines. Thanks again, Mark, for your time. It was really interesting speaking with you. I'm joined for the ending of the show here by my son William, who's smiling away. William sometimes comes with me to some of the track sessions that I go to. In fact, he's been with me to every track session I've been to. How do you like running, William?
I enjoy it a lot.
Do you? And what do you think of your daddy's running?
I think it's really good.
It's good, is it?
Yeah, and I'm surprised how far he can run without hurting himself.
Well, I do usually hurt myself a bit though, don't I?
Yeah.
And what have you been doing this morning?
I've been doing some football.
Have you? It's good fun, isn't it? Yeah. Right.
Especially when you're glued to the goalkeeper line.
What, you like being glued to the goalkeeper
Yeah.
line, do you? I prefer it when you're running around the pitch and getting involved. I might have mentioned that to you once or twice today. Right, well, thank you very much for listening in. Please subscribe, like, share to your friends. We're on Instagram now, as well as Facebook and Twitter and Podbean and YouTube.